Welcome. So I'm going to do another welcome here. My name is Kerry-Ann Joseph-McLean. Thank you so much for joining our health talk, which happens every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We touch different health topics in the way of identifying certain things, conditions, signs, symptoms, and how we can sort of help to improve your overall well-being. You may not be going through this particular condition I'm going to share with you, but you may know of someone that we want to be able to build a community of like-minded individuals who can help each other, have you feel like you're in a safe environment to share your questions or concerns. Excuse me. And of course, we are here not as health practitioners. We do not have any sort of credentials, but we are health enthusiasts. So what I'm sharing with you is some information I've gathered through credible sites. These are sites that I would be able to refer you back to. Uh, you have certain websites like Harvard and Yale and PubMed. So these are credible sites that have documented studies that you can go back and you can find the information I'm sharing with you. And of course, if you want further information at your own pace, you can go through to those sites and you can do your own homework and get more extensive information. So we're here to share information with you. And today's topic that we're covering is multiple sclerosis. And it's more common than we think, especially in the European and North America countries, more so than the Asian communities. It has a higher percentage in our side of the world, more so than the eastern side of the world. I'm not sure why, but that's some of the studies I've found in the case of following different ethnicities. So multiple sclerosis, or MS, I should say, that's for from my tongue's sake, so to speak. It actually has been linked to your autoimmune system. And so there are a lot of conversations online, offline, speaking about the autoimmune system that is impacted, and they're identifying this as one of the root cause of certain neurological and autoimmune conditions. And so most things are linked, or all things are linked in the body, and it manifests in different ways. Some people may go through MS, or they may go through cognition failure, or certain type of organ failure, or things like fibromyalgia, lupus, different conditions that are impacted, but it's the gut, the immune system, and more. So there's still studies ongoing. And as I mentioned to you, I'm not a practitioner, but I would suggest to you to be well informed. There's so much information on the website. You can go to Google and you can search it, and it'll take you down a rabbit hole of the worst case scenario. But I would say to you, do your own homework as well as what I'm sharing with you. Don't take anything I say as concrete. Take the extra step of what I'm sharing with you to be able to have it as a way to for us to help you to be more knowledgeable along your journey, your health journey. So what I'm going to share with you is actually my slide, my information that I'm going to share with you because I'm a visual person. I'm sure you may be as well. And that actually helps us to sort of identify some of the things that maybe you can sort of put two and two together in a sense. And you can also identify, okay, these are some of the things that I have been experiencing. And then maybe I can take that information and be more informed. So when I speak to my doctor, or I speak to my health practitioner, whoever that may be, a nutritionist, naturopathic doctor, or traditional doctor, then you can say, okay, I have these feelings, I have these symptoms, and let's see if we can do further tests. That's basically you being your own doctor in the sense of not sort of prescribing medication for yourself, but giving your doctor all the information you need so that they can give you a proper, educated diagnosis. Because most things are through trial and error. They will be able to go through their years of knowledge and be able to pinpoint through different tests and to rule out certain things so that you can stay on track with your health. So as I share this information with you, again, please place yourself on mute if you haven't done so yet so we can have a clear call. And as I share this with you, again, please feel free to ask as many questions through what I'm going to share with you at the end. All right, so we do know that in certain cases that some of the conditions that we may or may not experience or we've heard of other people in our families or circle speak on, they may have some related or similar symptoms. So for example, MS can, like I mentioned before, the autoimmune can impact that. You can have things like tingling, you can have pain, weakness, inflammation, and that can cover a whole bunch of different type of conditions or quote unquote illness as we give them certain names. Some people may have spasms, and some people may have eye issue, and that could be different things as well. But as today we're speaking about MS. So MS, we know it begins as an autoimmune system, as I mentioned before. It attacks your immune system. It attacks the brain, your spinal cord, flare up, relapses. All these things can happen, but can have a long-term degeneration. Now, in all the studies and all the findings, all the medications on the planet, there's no known cure for MS, but there's certain symptoms, signs that you can be aware of that you can sort of focus on to help improve your well-being if you're going through this health challenge. So things like inflammation, as I mentioned, is not a particular, one diagnosis, so to speak, of inflammation can cause MS. Inflammation can cause many things, but as we mentioned today, it is about MS. It also prevents your ability to have a cognition, to improve your cognition. It declines it. So your neurodegenerative phases of this disease comes, of course, in multiple phases. So the most common symptoms of MS is, of course, I mentioned before, numbness, tingling in the arms and legs, difficulty walking, imbalance, impaired balance, muscle weakness, visual impact, memory loss can happen. And again, as I mentioned before, memory loss is not strictly isolated to MS. It could be different things like dementia, Alzheimer's, and other conditions that are known with these type of symptoms. So what are the early signs of MS? Fatigue is one. And sometimes, as I was doing my studies, fatigue can come in different forms. So, for example, if you're overexerting yourself, if you find yourself being overly tired after you've done some sort of exercise, you can have extreme fatigue. I spoke last week about chronic fatigue and can come in various ways. How do you manage that without feeling sort of overwhelmed and, if you don't feel overly tired? It may come in phases, right? So if you feel overwhelmed or you find that you're not easily feeling a relief in your rest period time, but you see it feeling more fatigued, these are some of the symptoms and signs you can look out for. And it's of course not sort of building sort of like an alarm mentality of being overly stressed out about something that you may be feeling, but just to be aware that this could be a sign of MS. Numbness and tingling sensation can happen in different parts of your body in different times, and it also impacts the central nervous system. But also, if you've had a nerve injury or inflammation, that can trigger the numbness and tingling. Muscle weakness is another one. So if you're feeling, sometimes you feel weakness in your hands or different parts of your body, and you may have like a one-off and you go, oh, that was weird. Why am I feeling that? Don't put it off. And of course, don't be, this is a term called hypochondriac. Don't think that every single thing in your body is related to MS, but at least you're mindful of the certain things, and you can put two and two together, sort of make four, instead of making wild guesses, right? Because you're more informed. So in order to preserve your muscle strength, I would suggest that you can increase your physical activities based on how you're feeling. Most people who have MS is a progression or decline in the illness, so your mobility may not be as what a person who doesn't have MS. So gauge your body, gauge your strength, gauge your level of energy throughout the day, and speak to someone who can help you with your rehabilitation. And you can also do things at home without overly exerting yourself. I did mention before in one of my health talk that chair yoga is actually a pretty good thing, especially if you're trying to increase your strength or regain your balance. Yoga is another one. Things that are not too extra strenuous on your joints. You can actually do aqua fitness, where your buoyancy is not so much resistance, impact on your your muscles and joints, but you can still be as effective in your getting your rejuvenating your strength versus doing something that can cause you more fatigue, right? So balancing training and physical therapy, and you implement that, start off small, 1, 2, 3 days, and if you can manage more days, great. But of course, pay attention to your body. Vision problem is another one as well. You may find that you may have blurry vision at time or double vision. You can even have pain during your eye movement. Now, there's many things that can cause, eye movement, like pain when you're moving your eye. This could be one thing as well. It could be other things like you could have had shingles or other conditions that may impact you. Some people may have like post-COVID issues where they have, eye pain. So there's many different things to look for when it comes to vision problems. So again, you may speak to your ophthalmologist, optometrist, as well as your doctor himself. He or her can actually look into that and check your eyes and do more extensive research or start studies, appointments or treatments by referring you to an eye specialist. So that's one of that. Regular eye exams, of course. Here in Canada, Ontario, once a year, you check your eyes. Every 2 years, you have to change your glasses. Sometimes you may not need that frequent of an eye exam, but of course, given if you have a health condition, they would recommend once a year. Most times, and most people who don't have vision issues, it's every 2 years. So cognitive changes also to be mindful of. For example, memory loss, inability to focus, of course, how you process information. Sometimes you might have this thing called brain fog. It can happen. And we just sort of minimize what brain fog is, right? So, oh, I feel like I have baby brain, or I have, it's age. It may not be that. Or I didn't have enough sleep. It may not be that. It could be that. But at least you're mindful of how you're feeling. And if it is basically a length of time, a period of time when you find this is continually happening, then I would say to you, engage in a conversation with your health practitioner. So you can actually manage these things through different therapies, different techniques, even getting psychological assistance, depending on what you're going through and the period of time that you're experiencing that. Slurred speech is another one. Your speech impairment, characterized by slurring, hesitation, or trouble finding the correct words is an initial sign. Now, I want you to be mindful of this as well. I have a friend or an ex-co-worker. It has nothing to do with MS. She actually contracted COVID. And I'm not pro or con for the shot for the vaccine, but she at that time did not take the vaccine at the time. And again, it's a double-edged sword because some people have issues after the vaccine, and some people who didn't take the vaccine, it may have impacted them if they have an underlying issue. In her case, she lost her speech, and so she had to learn how to speak all over again by going to a speech therapist to learn how to speak. And it's not fully there yet, but it's been now 3-4 years, and her speech is still slurred. So it depends on what you have experienced. It could be a symptom or sign of early signs of MS, but could be other things as well. Another thing is through bowel and bladder dysfunction. This can happen if you experience an MS, but don't realize that you may have that MS or signs of MS. This could be one of them. Again, it could be other symptoms, but again, we're focusing on MS today. So this is where you're not able to fully control your bowel and bladder regularity, right? So for example, you need to pee more frequency, more urging of you want to go to the bathroom, or you may even have the reverse, which is constipation. So that could happen as well. So what I can share with you is some of the things that I actually did with my mother. She didn't have MS, but she was bedridden for about 2 years, which I took the time off to take care of her for those 2 years before she passed. And the things that I was able to help with her skin and the hygiene, all that stuff is what I'm sharing with you today and more. So for example, your skincare, most things that you would put on the skin, especially if you have incontinence issue, it may be full of toxins, especially in private areas that you want to be able to protect. So if you find you're peeing more, or you're having more of a BM more frequently, and you're not able to get to the bathroom on time, there are things you can do if you're mobile or limited mobility, or if you're bedridden, or in some cases, if you're basically have to rely on a wheelchair. If that's the stage of MS that you may be experiencing. So there's this actual cream that I'm going to advocate for, which I actually loved for my mother, and it was a cleansing cream, and that it's a Tena brand, TNA, and that was actually very gentle on her skin. It didn't have any sort of chemicals. It actually had aloe and vitamin E, and that helped in between her bath time so that she didn't get any type of infection instead of chafing up the skin, and her hygiene, everything was actually good. Another one too as well is to stay hydrated. Now, sometimes with drinking too much water, you find you have more frequency for the need to use the bathroom. So instead of taking sips of water throughout the day, time when you want to have the water, your glasses of water, and just have it all at once. That's another tip as well. And then as you're going through your day, if it's 3 or 4 or more glasses of water that you're consuming, then you don't want to go to the bathroom as often, because you're training yourself to consume water, a glass of water versus sip, sip, sip. So that if you find that you're getting more skin infection, that may trigger more flare-ups for MS. Another one is your supplements. There's supplements out there that you can go to your health stores, and you can actually get supplements that can help you with your urinary health. And that also helps prevent infection. Sometimes you may get, yeast infection or bladder infection, and you may have to take antibiotics, which can be very harsh on the systems, but also there are alternatives that you can speak to someone who is well versed in what you can consume as a supplement to help you with urinary health. I mentioned before incontinence. That's part of course, for your hygiene and your bladder control and all of that. But I'd say to you, we think that things like, you have your support for if you need to go to the bathroom, things like your Depends or other things that you have to rely on for a period of time, it can actually hurt your pride, because you're using something to help you so that you don't have an accident. But there's no shame in making sure that you are actually taking care of yourself, and this is one of the way you can do that. So we know from, they say once a man, twice a child, but in this case you can do things to help you, especially if you find that your mobility is not as fast as it was before. So going from the bathroom, sorry, to bed to the bathroom, or from the chair to the bathroom, your incontinence may impact you in this way. So you need to frequent urination or to go to for BM, that actually will help you in alleviating a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and all sort of, you have this confidence now that in case something happens, especially if you have to go to your appointments for your doctor or to go out, that you are well protecting yourself, your hygiene, and all of the things that are important to you. So being mindful of your hydration is important. The one thing I can say to you, if you find that you're afraid to consume water or stay hydrated, you find that when you go to the bathroom, the color and the odor from your urination may be heightened because you're dehydrated. So it's a balancing act. So if you're mindful of your hydration, let's say you have to go to bed at a certain time, at least drink 3 hours before you sleep, so that you know that you're not getting up as frequently. If you have to go to appointments, sort of time it to know how you're going to consume your beverages so you stay hydrated. And of course, that way you reduce your body odor as well, or the odor itself that comes from urination or your BM. Another one is heat sensitivity. More people who have MS symptoms or signs of, or actually have been diagnosed with MS, have a higher sense of heat sensitivity. And this also has to do with your autoimmune system. I can say with you, for example, and I divert a little bit, my cousin who had her first bout of shingles, hopefully she won't get another one. And she also is a cancer survivor. has extreme heat sensitivity, especially for if she's exposed too long to the sun, or even in shade. If it's too hot, it impacts her as well. And so the immune system manifests itself in different things, like, for example, heat sensitivity. So not just MS, but overall, just protecting yourself and knowing what to do to stay hydrated, to reduce the heat sensitivity, staying in cool places, cool showers. There's even those neck fabric that you can wet and they refrigerate them, and it helps to keep your neck cool. So it actually helps your whole body cool down. Another tip too, as well, in the Caribbean, when it's really hot, we drink tea. So the tea that we drink, the hot beverage that we drink, which is tea, for example, your body's forced to cool down itself. So it heats up to cool down. So that could be another tip as well you could actually implement. Mood changes. Mood changes happens in many different symptoms. You know, some people may go through menopause, may go through change of life, so to speak. They may be going through different types of conditions, not necessarily MS, but this is one of the things that you can look out for. So as we're giving you these different signs, these are things you need to look out for, to be mindful of. So impacting your emotional well-being, it can lead to mood changes. So for example, you're going through this change in your life, and it can cause depression, it can cause anxiety, stress. It can cause you to have irritability because you're sort of angry in the sense of, why is this happening to me? Or you may have accepted it, but still you have these, these bouts of depression, sadness, stress, all of these things, and it can impact and alter your mood. So if you can engage in stress management techniques, things like meditation, breathing exercises can help you. At least 3, 4, 5 times a day, you can practice your breathing exercise. Stop. You find yourself getting overwhelmed, stop. Take a deep breath and take another deep breath and exhale. And you take a deep breath and you release that. You find that your body shifts in the way it feels. Getting more sleep can help you with your mood. And sometimes sleep can be a challenge, especially if your body's highly stressed. And depending on the level of your symptoms or signs of your MS, you may not be able to sleep a full 8 hours because you may have other symptoms like, pain, joints, numbness, all of this things that may prevent you from sleeping. So get your sleep as much as you can, so that helps to balance your mood. Do things like yoga to help to relieve the stress and anxiety. That can help with your mood. And also make sure you're eating the right foods, the right things, the right thoughts, so that you sort of balance and to be able to reduce some of the symptoms and signs of MS. So your overall well-being is what we want to focus on. Now, as I mentioned before, there's no known cure for MS, but you can try to manage your well-being as you have the ability to be proactive than reactive. So in some cases, you can't help but be reactive because you may have experienced pain right away comes on, and then you have to be reactive. But there's certain things you can do in a proactive way that you can actually have the ability now to say, okay, I can do this XYZ to be able to manage my well-being. And when things happen, or if they do happen, I can actually do ABC, so to speak, to manage my pain, my mood, all of these things, even your incontinence, if you're at that stage. So physical therapy is one of them for the pain management things. Some people do acupuncture, massages, they do physiotherapy. There's different types of therapies that you can actually engage in, and you will have to sort of investigate what works best for you, how your body feels before and after your sessions. And it may take a few sessions to sort of identify which technique works best for you. And so there's certain types of aches and pains that may be related to MS, like back pain, your hands, your feet, your toes, sometimes your neck, and different parts of your body that you may have random pain, or the feeling of like inflammation happening that triggers the pain. And so again, you might say, okay, I have back pain, I have numbness. What is that? I find stiffness in the joints. What is that? And that could be sign of your MS. That's early signs of MS. Now, difficulty swallowing is another one that happens when you have been diagnosed with MS, and the weakness in your throat, your swallowing ability, that not only is impacting your speech, is impacting your ability to swallow. and to be able to do your day, the things we take for granted, like swallowing, could be a challenge for those who actually have these signs, early or onset of MS. You may find that you may feel uncomfortable eating or drinking, so speak with a medical professional. So if you're speaking with a professional, you can say, this is what I'm experiencing. This is what I have. And no, I'd like to have further things. And so I want to say to you that if you have certain conditions, you have the ability to to do these things, then you can say, okay, I have difficulty swallowing. What can I do? The texture of food can change. In some cases, for example, my mom, she didn't have MS, but I mentioned to you, I was a caregiver for her for some time. I had to change. I prepared all her meals, so I had to prepare how she ate. So from being able to chew to purees to different things and different stages. So you're the person that's helping you. Then you can have a conversation. If you have the ability and slowness of your speech, then of course there may be other ways you can communicate as well. And of course, please, please, please stay hydrated, providing your body with the proper nutrients. So we know diseases of the nervous system can cause different type of conditions, and it negatively impacts your central nervous system, your peripheral nervous system. But we know that the body manifests certain conditions, but they're underlying conditions that may trigger it. So I want to share with you a couple of things. The studies I've found, these are through the public medical library. And so when you see a PMID, that's a PubMed study that's been done by scientists, doctors, people who study different conditions, different solutions or remedies that they would recommend as something that you can actually focus on. So the 3 of the 4 areas that I want to share with you are these 4. So these 4 are found in either in foods, in beverages. I put a picture here of different types of sort of nutrients, so to speak, or amino acids that can actually help in certain situations, but I'm focusing on these 4. So for example, flavonoids, terpenoids, and alkaloids, it's fancy names, but basically they're what's in our food. And so I want to show you something here. So most of us, we eat and consume foods that we gravitate to, that we like. Some of us, if you're like me, I don't like bitter things, although I know they're good for me, but we know there's certain things that have many benefits. So we know that the soil is depleted. We know that there's certain foods that actually we can eat to get the right nutrients, but how much do we get in our system to be able to give us what we need? So if I say to you that, excuse me one moment, I apologize. So I do apologize. So we do have one special guest who will be asking to share his information, and hopefully he wasn't able to join it, but if I'm able after this, he's able to share his story, then if you can hear it through the speaker, then that'll be great. So as we go through these slides and show the different types of antioxidants our body will need to help with the conditions I mentioned before. So for example, things like certain type of fruits and vegetables, and I love, for example, bananas. I'm a monkey when it comes to bananas. I love bananas. But when it comes to these things, how much bananas can you have to get the amount of antioxidants you need? How much of your pears or avocados do you need to get the right amount of antioxidants? So for example, we may eat a quarter of a avocado. Well, in order to get the right amount of antioxidants your body needs for the day, you need to eat 7 avocados. You can't eat all 7, right? Especially with the price we have right now. How much of the tomatoes can you have to get the right amount of antioxidants? You need 7. So your body needs roughly about over 150 antioxidants per day, average. So what I'm sharing with you in this further slides, it's basically a superfood, which is called Ganoderma lucidum, which has over 150 antioxidants per serving. So think of you having a hand, if you're having like a cup of strawberries, you may need to have 10 cups of strawberries to have the right amount of antioxidants your body needs. So the antioxidants in, for example, MS, helps with your eye health. I mentioned before that your eyes can be impacted if you have MS or have signs of it. So if you have things like some of the symptoms that you may be experiencing in early signs, or if you actually have full-blown been diagnosed with MS, these are some of the things that if you have not been educated on or shared information on, because some of us, we go to a traditional doctor, we don't necessarily go to a naturopathic doctor or a nutritionist, because they're versed in natural medicine versus a traditional doctor, which is trained on pharmaceuticals. So nutrition is not something that they would be able to advise you on. So do your due diligence and to be able to seek out the right people to get the right nutrition into your body, because most of us are depleted in many ways than we actually think. Flavonoids is another one. I mentioned to you there's 4 different things that are made up of some foods. Flavonoids you can find in pumpkin, spinach, carrot, cabbage, spearmint, not my favorite, of course, and corn. But you can actually need that in your body to help with helps with inflammation. And so the flavonoids actually is anti-cancer, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, antiviral. So all those properties are in your foods you eat, but of course, if they're depleted, the soil is depleted, you may not get the right nutrients you need. So adding a superfood to what you have can help to benefit you on your overall well-being. Now we know things like kale and hot peppers, broccoli, all those things are really good for the good sources for flavonoids. But again, how much do you have to eat per serving to get the right amount into your body? Another one is terpenoids. Again, that's part of in your foods, like things like mangoes and apples and, several spices. Now, if you're like me, I can eat 10, 20 mangoes, but again, you may not be able to do it every single day, right? Beer also contains terpenes, but you can't have beer every single day, right? Because it has an adverse negative effect. And so things like these type of nutrients in your food are very essential for your well-being. Again, the quantity is what we're speaking of to be able to get the right amount into your system. So we know that alkaloids also is part of the makeup of certain beverages you consume, certain foods you eat, things like coffee seeds, cocoa seeds, caffeine from your tea leaves, even tomatoes or potatoes. Some Coca-Colas have it too, but I wouldn't say go to that route. But alkaloids is really good in helping certain things like it's antifungal, anti-diabetic, anti-malaria. But again, it covers a whole vast of different types of conditions it's known to help with, including MS, because it's not MS that's a cure, but the symptoms of MS is what it actually can help with and support you with. And so as I go through this last set of slides before I introduce my special guest, Gary, it's basically introducing who we are, what we're about. So we discovered wellness through this company called Organo 12 years ago with my aunt, who was diagnosed with 2 terminal illnesses. One was Pick's disease, and the second was ALS, which is it's basically not as the numbers in our group and in the Black community. PICS is not something that's you don't know about. You hear dementia, Alzheimer's, but not PICS. And then she got ALS. So that started our health journey, our wanting to find a solution. But unfortunately, this was shared with us 3 weeks after she passed. So this is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate, including my husband Cornell, about sharing health through this means, by sharing these health talk with you, and of course sharing what we're about. So we decided from transition customers to business partners, and we want to share the health on the power of this superfood called Ganoderma. And it's through this vehicle called Organo. And this is how we were able to discover wellness and share it with you. And for those who are like-minded, who want to be able to improve their health. So mindfulness, positivity, wellness they all go together, because one small change can equal a lasting impact. And so the three main mushrooms, or the three superfoods I want to mention to you or speak about today, is called Ganoderma, cordyceps, and lion's mane. They work in harmony, they work in synergy, but you don't have to necessarily focus on all three. You can consume one or the other or all. In my case, in my husband's case, and those that we know, they love all three, and so do we. So we know that Ganoderma supports the immune system, but it does so much more. It's an adaptogen, so basically it goes into your body. It actually helps to protect your organs. It actually, it helps with your overall well-being, but there's so much more beyond that. So we do have a national product number with Health Canada, and so that actually has been recognized worldwide, of course, and we have over 32 certifications with our company that we are basically worldwide. We're a global company. Cordyceps helps support your immune system, but also helps with your energy level, your performance, and more. And also your central nervous system, your nervous system. It all supports that as well in helping to repair it, to restore it, if it's not dead. And so lion's mane helps with your gut, your brain, your overall well-being, but also your energy and your focus in your brain. And so as we go through different types of health challenges, unfortunately, we will, at one time or another in our life, we may have some sort of health scare, or we may be going through something right now or know someone. Being mindful of what we consume, being mindful of how we think, how we eat. There's a friend of mine named Dr. Bob Rakowski. He says, if you eat right, think right, poop right, then you're on your wellness journey of improving your health. And so some of these things here, you can take screen captures if you'd like to. This is called also recorded, so you can go through it again. It may be a bit of information for you to be able to write down, but these are all PubMed studies from the Public Medical Library. That's the source that I go to. And other ones, like I mentioned you before, I've gone to the Harvard website, I've gone to Yale, and a few others, and these are credible sites, not something I just randomly Google and search for. And this is just my passion, what I want to do and to be able to share. So we know that the Ganoderma helps to many things, but also there are some people who go through MS symptoms and they may have weight loss or muscle loss. So Ganoderma and the lion's mane helps to recover that. You may have also motor dysfunction. The actual Ganoderma helps in the treatment of that, and you can find a significant improvement. Another one as well is if you find that there are certain things like cognition in your journey through MS, that also helps in alleviating or suppressing that as well. Another part I mentioned before is anxiety, depression that can go hand in hand with most illnesses. And this is no different with MS. Things like inflammation. You may go through mood swings, as I mentioned before. The actual Ganoderma helps to calm your body, reduce inflammation, and much, much more. Another finding is through PubMed, we know that, and of course we've heard other naturopathic doctors speak, that if you're taking any medication for any condition, so to speak, there's no adverse negative effect on the body. So it protects your organs. It actually helps with your immune system. And it actually has a lot of different benefits that can help you. So there's no negative. Even women who are pregnant can consume it as well. As far as we have been able to decipher through all 3,000 plus case studies on PubMed, there's no negative effect after consuming that, because it's considered a food supplement as well as a medicinal supplement. So these are things that we can consume safely because they are nature intended for them to grow, is how we consume it, right? Now, normally Ganoderma is very bitter if put into a tincture form, but what I'm going to share with you is a way that you can consume it, get the benefit without the bitterness of the Ganoderma. So it also helps in other conditions, but one of the things I can share with you is when the body goes through stress in different forms, including MS, there's a process called oxidative stress. So what the actual Ganoderma does, you consume it, it suppresses that. So your body is not sort of declining in the sense of the symptoms, but actually improving, helping it to improve. The many things we know are good for us. We know back home and to the Caribbean, there's sort of medication we take, and if we take, for example, a traditional local remedy, it can have a negative effect on your body because it reduces the impact of the medication. Whereas with the Ganadum is the reverse. Because it's considered a food supplement, not just medicinal, it actually works hand in hand with your medication. I give a perfect example. My mother had a beta block pill for her heart after her second stroke. She had metformin, and she had for her high blood pressure, and she had a few other pills. They removed the blood thinners, of course, because she didn't need it, and there was no negative effect. It actually helped reduce her numbers. The cognition part is what impacts the brain when you're going through MS and other conditions, health scares. It actually helps with your cognition, improving it, your mood. I mentioned before your stress level, but that's the lion's mane. So think of you consuming lion's mane, cordyceps, as well as Ganoderma, and they work hand in hand to help you with your well-being in your journey as well. So I mentioned before that we have our products through this company called Organo. I mentioned as well that the actual mushroom is bitter to consume. So we have a patent that actually you can consume it in powder form, the raw form, and you can consume it and get the benefits. It comes in capsule form. The first stage is the root, which is the mycelium, then the Ganoderma, which is the fruiting body, as well as the spores, which are seeds. These are seeds that they go into the air, go onto plum logs to create more as nature intended. And of course, you can consume all three through the capsule form. That's the therapeutic dosage. Now, if you're like me and you love your teas, your cocoa, your coffees, and so forth, you can actually consume it in this form as well. If you just want to be able to say, okay, let me just try to see what it does to my body, because everyone's body is different, it speaks differently, right? And your body will never lie to you. So the cordyceps, the Ganoderma, and lion's mane are available in different products, but in this particular one, which is called the red tea, it's a South African robust tea, caffeine-free. It has the reishi, which is the Ganoderma, and the cordyceps, and you can consume that at your heart content. You can never overdose on goodness, right? The other one is the new introduction to our family, which is called Royale. It's a new blend of coffee that has all three, and this has become my favorite. Imagine from a non-coffee drinker to a coffee drinker in a very short time. And so it has all three, and so it helps with the gut, the head, was basically your cognition, your brain, and your overall well-being, and it helps to reduce your stress level as well, and helps to enhance your mood. So as I mentioned, all three are in here. You can see the slides. And the other thing too I want to share with you now, you can go onto Amazon and different companies and you can find Ganoderma at a lower cost than some stores, because you go to different locations, different companies, and an item you see at one store might be cheaper than another, but of course you're looking at the quality of what you're consuming. So whatever you buy is what you get. So in our case, we have 100% certified organic Ganoderma, even in the spore form. And then you have the artificially grown in plastic bags that most companies will do because they want a fast production time. And those are more yellow, sickly type look versus ours, which is a bright red as nature grows it. And so you can look hand in hand and get your nutrients, but what you put in is what your body performs. So for us, we have 99% absorption rate as you consume the Ganoderma or any of the other capsules we have, versus other companies where your absorption rate is 4% to 13%. So think of you buying vitamins, you consume it. Let's say you bought a yellow vitamin. You consume it, you go to the bathroom to urinate, you urinate the color of the vitamin because it goes right through you, not into where it needs to get to. So as we're consuming the Ganoderma, it does what over time, you can start seeing for yourself what it's doing for your body. Because again, like I said, the body doesn't lie. So here we go with the different types of products. We have it in coffee form. We have it in a Cafe Supreme, which has Panax ginseng, Tongkat Ali, and Ganoderma. So high quality of the nutrients you need. Comes in mocha, which is one of my favorite. So it's coffee and hot cocoa. And then you have hot cocoa if you're a kid or a kid at heart like myself. You have your hot cocoa, latte, and king. Now, I mentioned these to you because everyone's palate, it gravitates to what it likes. So the ingenious of putting the Ganoderma into the coffee, teas, hot cocoa is just to get a delivery mechanism into your system so you can get the benefits of the Ganoderma, right? Or the lion's mane or the cordyceps. And so when we discover wellness through the power of Ganoderma, we want to invite you to be able to share your story. And as we hear, Gary's here with me. He wasn't able to join, but hopefully, are you there, Gary? Okay, so let me see if I can increase the volume. Now, I'd like to ask everyone here if they can hear clearly, Gary. Gary, can you speak? And then,
Can everyone hear me?
if you can, please put in the chat you can.
And I'm an Ajax.
Okay, can anyone confirm they can hear Gary through the speaker in the chat? Yes, perfect. So I got a thumbs up. So Gary, you can share your story. So Gary's a friend of Cornell and of course myself, and he has gone through a journey with MS. So Gary, you're here in Ajax. Would you mind sharing your journey with those who are here on the call?
Okay, well, I appreciate you guys hearing my story. First things first, I want to compliment you for everything that you're going through because I've experienced what you've been going through. And I'm going to try to give you some encouragement, some encouraging words. Because first things first, you don't feel bad for what you're going through because people face things every day. You're just facing this MS thing and it's not tolerable or accepted in some forms or any form. You just have to have a good heart and accept it and try to look at it as a mountain that God has put in front of you, and He wants you to climb more of that mountain and achieve something for yourself and for people around you. Because sometimes love in the family heals all illnesses and hurts that you experience. And that's the main thing. Be appreciative for life because you don't know whenever life's going to end for you permanently.
Thank you. So for those of you who are hearing Gary's story, so for myself, it's something that I have a couple of friends who have gone through MS as well. One at the age of 20, I think she's now 28. And then there's another person who I recently met and she's in her 40s. So it is no respect to a person, but of course the journey is real. For myself, I'm thankful that you're here to share your story. Is there anything particular that you'd like to share with us? And we appreciate all your words of encouragement because that just tells me that you have a heart that wants to serve. So I appreciate you.
Well, that's the main point of this life is that you have to have a loving heart, an open heart to accept everyone and their complications in their life. Because yeah, you're going through your MS, but remember, you're going through. I look at it as a baby part of the diseases because diabetes and all those other things are worse than what we're going through because I've lost my ability to walk. But then again, I can't say I'm mad victim for that because I gotta look at that in a more historical form of life because if anyone says to me, well, how does it feel to be in a wheelchair? All I gotta do is say to them, well, there's more things in life to be sad about. Being in a wheelchair is not the worst thing in life. And if you want me to prove it to you, we could go on a 5-mile run. You on your legs and me on my chair.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever comes first treats the other one to lunch or something. Don't get discouraged with what you're going through because God puts things in front of you that He knows that you can handle. If you couldn't handle it, He would not present that to your life. And you gotta have strong family members around you because that's your medication. That's your healing point
Yeah.
in life. And if you don't have someone that's supportive to you, you'll sink down to the lowest part of your life. You're at a point that you could not accept and cannot look at it and tolerate it. But you know what? You're blessed with it. Don't look at it and look at it as a setback in your life, because everyone goes through things that you don't know about. And the number one thing is have a positive heart, because people go through worse than where you go through.
Thank you.
And always remember that.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate you and appreciate the time. I love that beautiful smile and that beautiful heart.
Well, you know what? I went through this illness and I had everything going for me because I graduated law security, top of the class, graduated valedictorian. I got a job offered to me while I was in school to work in Calgary, because I couldn't work in the same province that I grew up in the first 5 years. And I had this happen, and I thought my life would be done. But you know what? People go through worse than what I'm going through.
Yeah.
I'm not losing any limbs or have my health. If I get a mass, I'll be perfectly healthy. And I gotta thank God for that, because He's given me a positive way of thinking. Even though He's given me illness, He said, you know what? I know you could handle it. I know you'll get over it. Because if you couldn't get over it, He wouldn't give it to me. I'm the first family member in Canada to have multiple sclerosis. I didn't even know what multiple sclerosis was. But I found out what it does and what it is quickly. And yes, I was sad at points in life. But the thing is, you gotta have people around you that are positive and encouraging. Because I owe that to my friends and my family. Because if they weren't there for me, I don't know where I'd be today.
Amen for that.
I do not know where I'll be today.
Awesome.
But you know, like I said, I'm going through this death, but people are going through worse than me. And I gotta look at that and say, you know what? I gotta offer them my hand. Because if I don't offer my hand to them, then why am I here? Yeah, I got MS, but that doesn't stop me from being a human being with humanity and care for others. And that's the most important part of life, is to love your neighbor.
Yes. And once you have life, you have breath, you have hope. And so as
You have everything.
yeah, and you've inspired me so much. And those on the call here, you know, I'm sure they're very thankful for your sharing your words of wisdom. Is there anyone on the call who has a question that they'd like to ask?
Feel free.
Yeah, he says feel free.
And I apologize I can't get on the internet.
That's okay. So where there's a will, there's a way. So Cornell was able to connect you to, you know, to this form through his phone, so everyone can hear your story. There any oh yes, there's a question here. So we have is this Deborah? You
Yes.
have a question?
Hi, Gary. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Gary, what products were you using during your journey?
I wasn't on any type of medication.
Were you using any?
Sorry, go ahead, Gary, you're saying?
My doctor in the beginning, he was my family doctor from when I came to Canada. I was 5 years old when I came to Canada, and I was introduced to this person. And when I got the multiple sclerosis, he became a heroin addict.
Oh, wow.
So I had to deal with that complication because I wasn't on any type of medication or anything like that in the very beginning.
Okay.
All I had was my family's love to encourage me. I cried at times. I cried most times. And I guess that's the healing part of conquering this illness, because the only thing that I lost my use of my arms and my legs. I got my arms back, and the communication was hesitant at times, but I got all that back. The only thing I've lost completely are the legs, and I can't be sad about that because others go through worse than what I've gone through.
So,
People that have diabetes or anything, they lose limbs, and I gotta be positive and encourage them that life is only a part of history that you're going to create. And if you let this illness affect you and affect who you are, then you might as well give up because you're here not to be selfish for yourself, but to encourage others that things are difficult, yeah, but look at you now. You're speaking, you're communicating with other people, and you're encouraging other people to get better. And that's the whole point of life. You can't let life obstacles hold you back.
Deborah, you asking a particular question. Sorry, if you could, I didn't want to interrupt you. So, Deborah, you had a question pertaining as to what you're consuming, right?
Oh, yes, I was asking particularly about Organo's products and if he was using, you know, the tea, the coffee, the spores.
No, we actually just reconnected, so we will share with that with him offline. So yeah.
Well, Jamaican, I grew up in a Jamaican household. I don't know anything about that organic stuff because that wasn't part of my upbringing. Don't take away from things that you used to enjoy.
Yeah.
Don't just monitor the amount that you receive or take in, because sometimes you just need that little food that makes you feel happy inside your body.
Yeah, awesome.
Because sometimes when you're eating something that you enjoyed in the past, don't discourage yourself from enjoying it today.
So
even though you're going through this, you do need a little something in your life to make you feel happy.
agree. So Deborah, we will speak with him afterwards pertaining to that. So we just reconnected, and so we're going to share with him on those type of products that you yourself are benefiting from.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Any other questions? You have a question? Well,
Yeah, hi Gary.
Yes.
Thank you very much for sharing. I know the last time I met with you and we had, I prayed for you. What I wanted to find out from you is the symptoms that you were experiencing post your diagnosis from your doctor. Was it something that was out front that you could identify, or was it something that just creeped up on you and your doctor basically did some tests to find out that it was MS?
Well, to begin, first things first, my doctor, he wasn't very helpful because he didn't even diagnose me with MS. I had to find that out on my own.
wow.
And sometimes you just have to you got to encourage yourself to find things out on your own to help heal your body. Because my main thing was MS is something that I did not know anything about. And my worry at the time was my daughters, my grandkids, because they say you could inherit it, inherit this illness. And I heard it's worse in women than men.
Yeah.
So I gotta be a little bit more loving when it comes to a woman that has MS, because she's going through worse than what I went through. Because the only thing that I've gone through is a loss to walk. But you know what? I'll stand anybody. I'll stand them through. I have my wheelchair. And we're not gonna go no 100-meter run. We're gonna go for kilometers.
May have to try.
And then you
I may have to challenge you on that one. I can walk real fast.
well, if you go fast, it's not a matter of
Very true.
don't even talk to me about it.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. And we're all from the Caribbean, and so of course we know about the good food, and some of the health benefits of some of the things that we consume that our parents and grandparents share with us. But this Ganoderma is something that's from the eastern side of the world that was now being introduced in the last maybe 15 to 20 years in the North America and Europe. So people are now getting to understand what the benefits of these things and how it can help certain situations in your case and other people's case. So we will reach out to you, talk to you, but we appreciate you, appreciate your time. We appreciate that you're sharing this from your heart. And of course, I feel encouraged because you poured everything.
I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to me.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Alrighty. Take care.
So folks, for those of you, there's no more questions to ask. If you have additional questions that post this recording, feel free to send me a side message, or if you have more, of course, we try to make it as informative, but also in a sense where we're going to encourage you to live your best life, to be the healthiest version of you every single day, and to show up for you. And of course, like one of our dear friends says, you are your best doctor. You can assess yourself, but of course you take that information to your practitioner, and if that practitioner is not giving you the right information, challenge them and go to someone else. Be in a place where you're able to have control over your health by sort of being consistent and insistent on seeing the right specialist, the right doctor, taking the right things, whether it's through naturopathic means or working hand in hand with pharmaceuticals or eating the right nutrients. So join us again here next Tuesday. We are going to be speaking on a different topic every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do have a business call that we have on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. for those of you who see an opportunity to become entrepreneurs through this ecosystem that we would be able to teach in a systematic way. But today's only about health. And at the end of the day, we're here to encourage and empower each other. So if you can help the person around you and within you, then you know that you're doing the right thing and you're encouraging yourself as you encourage others. Today, listening to Gary, I'm more empowered now because I know that I'm on the right track with my husband with this health talk. And so thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great day, everyone, and take care.
All right, thank you for taking the time to listen to me.
Thank you, Gary. Take care.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.